I think it's probably too soon to tell and too soon to say, but obviously pretty gutted about the decision.
A wave of unprecedented controversy has erupted across the Commonwealth as a petition rejecting Harry and Meghan's proposed visit to Australia ignites a royal crisis of international proportions. What was once considered a ceremonial tour quickly spirals into a storm of public outrage, media frenzy, and political debate, exposing cracks in the carefully curated image of modern monarchy. Across social media and public forums, citizens question not only the couple's role within the royal family, but also the propriety of their influence abroad, challenging the long-held assumption that royal visits are universally celebrated. Behind the scenes, advisors scramble to mitigate diplomatic fallout while strategists analyze the petition's explosive traction, revealing an undercurrent of dissatisfaction that has simmered beneath the public's perception of royal harmony. Every signature, every voice of dissent, becomes a symbol of monarchy at a crossroads, balancing tradition with transparency, prestige with accountability, and celebrity with duty. As a petition gains momentum, it forces the palace to confront a delicate reality. The power of public opinion now wields as much weight as ceremonial decree, and no royal narrative can escape the scrutiny of a connected, vocal, and increasingly demanding audience. This documentary uncovers the hidden tensions, the unspoken negotiations, and the strategic maneuvers behind the headlines, offering viewers an unprecedented glimpse into a family and an institution grappling with relevance, legitimacy, and the relentless gaze of the modern world. The unfolding saga of rejection, resistance, and reckoning underscores a fundamental truth. Even in the most exalted halls of royalty, perception can reshape authority, and controversy can redefine the boundaries of influence, leaving the monarchy to navigate uncharted waters where every decision resonates far beyond palace walls. A tidal wave of controversy has swept across Australia and the Commonwealth, shaking the foundations of the royal family as an explosive petition formally rejects Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's proposed visit. What was intended as a ceremonial tour, meant to celebrate and reinforce ties between the monarchy and its former colonies, has instead spiraled into an unprecedented public uproar, revealing the immense power of social media, civic mobilization, and grassroots dissent in the 21st century. Citizens from all walks of life have voiced their frustration, posting, sharing, and signing with remarkable speed, making it clear that the monarchy no longer operates in a vacuum insulated from public opinion. Behind the scenes, palace advisors and diplomatic teams are racing to manage the fallout, their carefully crafted protocols and centuries-old traditions colliding with a populace emboldened to challenge the royal narrative. The petition, while legal and non-binding, carries symbolic weight that cannot be ignored, exposing an intricate clash between celebrity and sovereignty, between media-driven personalities and institutional authority. Analysts observe that Harry and Meghan's brand of modern royal engagement, once considered innovative and appealing, is now polarizing public sentiment, raising urgent questions about their role in a family whose legitimacy depends on both public adoration and adherence to tradition. Every comment, signature, and news article is dissected by political commentators, royal correspondents, and citizen journalists alike, creating a feedback loop of scrutiny that has magnified the crisis into a full-blown constitutional conversation about relevance, responsibility, and the limits of privilege. Within the corridors of power, the monarchy faces a delicate balancing act, honoring the individual autonomy of family members while maintaining the collective dignity and historical obligations of the institution. The petition has ignited debates not only in Australian Parliament but also within palace advisory councils, prompting urgent communications between the Prince of Wales, senior royal aides, and government officials. Security assessments have been intensified, engagement plans reconsidered, and contingency measures drafted as the palace navigates the logistical and symbolic complexities of a visit now fraught with tension and public opposition. This unfolding drama highlights a seismic shift in the relationship between the public and the monarchy, one in which transparency, accountability, and perception now weigh as heavily as ceremony and protocol. For Harry and Meghan, the rejection is more than a diplomatic setback. It is a tangible expression of public sentiment that challenges decades of carefully curated royal image-making. Meanwhile, for the palace, it is a stark reminder that the monarchy's authority, while steeped in history, is continuously scrutinized, and that misalignment with the expectations of a modern, connected citizenry can generate crises with far-reaching consequences. As the story develops, the documentary lens exposes hidden layers of negotiation, media strategy, and personal resolve, capturing the tension between individual desires and institutional obligations. The royal family must navigate a landscape where influence is measured not solely by title or lineage, but by the court of public opinion, capable of amplifying discontent into a crisis that resonates globally. Every statement, every action, and every reaction is now weighed against the backdrop of an engaged and vocal public, highlighting a new reality for the monarchy. Survival depends as much on perception and adaptability as it does on tradition and ceremony. This gripping narrative traces the cascading effects of the petition, showing how one legal document, one act of civic engagement, can challenge assumptions, disrupt plans, and force the monarchy into unprecedented strategic decisions. From public protests and media commentary to internal strategy sessions and security recalibrations, the unfolding events reveal the complexities of leadership in a family that is both global and intensely scrutinized. The rejection of Harry and Meghan by Australia serves as a defining moment, a case study in modern monarchy, a confrontation between celebrity and institutional authority, and a stark illustration of how democratic engagement can directly intersect with centuries-old traditions, ultimately reshaping the boundaries of royal influence and public expectation as tensions escalate. The rejection by Australia becomes more than a momentary headline. It evolves into a defining episode in the ongoing saga of Harry and Meghan's complex relationship with the monarchy. The explosive petition, now trending internationally, has ignited debates over the role of public consent, colonial history, and the expectations of modern royals in an era dominated by media scrutiny and social accountability. Political analysts, royal historians, and media commentators dissect every nuance, from the petition's legal language to the timing of its publication, highlighting how a single act of civic mobilization can reverberate across continents, altering not only travel plans but also perceptions of legitimacy and influence. Within the palace, confidential briefings convey the severity of the situation. Security protocols are heightened, diplomatic channels are activated, and internal communications intensify as advisors weigh the risks of potential protests, media backlash, and the implications for future engagements. Every step of the royal itinerary is now filtered through the lens of public opinion, revealing the delicate balancing act required to maintain dignity while responding to an unprecedented grassroots challenge. This unfolding royal crisis underscores the fundamental tension between tradition and modernity, demonstrating how the monarchy, despite its centuries-old authority, is subject to the whims of a connected, vocal public. For Harry and Meghan, this rejection is a sobering lesson in the limits of personal branding within an institution bound by centuries of protocol. Their public appeal, once thought to augment the monarchy's reach, now collides with national sentiment, revealing the precarious position of royals who navigate personal autonomy while representing a historical and symbolic institution. Behind palace walls, meetings with aides, legal counsel, and diplomatic envoys reflect the urgency of crafting a response that preserves both royal dignity and public respect, illustrating that leadership is no longer determined solely by lineage but also by adaptability, perception, and strategic communication. In parallel, the media narrative amplifies every subtle gesture and statement, from social media commentary to international news coverage. Each development is scrutinized for signals of tension, strategy, or potential concession, generating a feedback loop that magnifies the stakes of every decision. Analysts note that the crisis has far-reaching implications for the monarchy's global image, particularly in Commonwealth nations where historical sensitivities and contemporary politics intersect. Public discourse now questions not only the appropriateness of the visit, but also the broader role of the monarchy in modern governance, social influence, and international relations. Harry and Meghan's response, or lack thereof, is framed as a litmus test of their ability to reconcile personal objectives with institutional expectations, highlighting the intricate interplay between personal ambition, public accountability, and historical legacy. As the petition garners signatures and sparks public demonstrations, the royal family confronts an uncomfortable reality. The monarchy's influence is no longer absolute and must be negotiated in real time with digitally empowered citizenry. For the palace, this moment becomes a case study in crisis management, where every decision is magnified and every misstep carries lasting consequences. Contingency planning, strategic messaging, and careful orchestration of appearances are essential to prevent escalation. Yet the underlying issue remains profound, a symbolic confrontation between modern celebrity culture and centuries-old institutional authority. For viewers, The documentary lens captures not only the tension and intrigue of the situation, but also the evolving nature of monarchy in a world where the voice of the people, amplified through petitions and media, can decisively shape the course of royal engagements and legacy. As the Australian petition surges, the magnitude of its impact begins to resonate across continents, capturing the attention of governments, media outlets, and royal correspondents alike. This is not merely a rejection of a royal visit. It has become a catalyst for global discourse on the evolving role of monarchy in the 21st century. Public forums erupt with debates over privilege, accountability, and the appropriateness of royal influence in nations with democratic structures. For Harry and Meghan, the backlash exposes a stark reality that their celebrity status and charitable endeavors do not exempt them from public scrutiny or national sentiment. The petition, fueled by digital mobilization, illustrates the unprecedented power of grassroots activism in shaping royal engagements and underscores a complex relationship between personal ambition and institutional responsibility. Within Buckingham Palace and the royal offices abroad, a flurry of activity unfolds. Security teams re-evaluate risk protocols, advisors draft potential public statements, and legal experts assess implications for diplomatic relations, while communication strategists work to manage a narrative now dominated by questions of legitimacy, respect, and public consent. Every decision must be carefully calculated. Missteps could reverberate not only within the monarchy but also in international relations, media credibility, and the family's broader legacy. The unfolding crisis highlights the delicate balance between private autonomy and public expectation. Harry and Meghan's personal objectives clash with centuries-old traditions, demonstrating how the monarchy is increasingly subjected to public opinion in real time, amplified by media and digital platforms. Every press release, social media statement, and unofficial commentary becomes a thread in a larger tapestry of perception management, where even the most subtle gestures can escalate or diffuse tension. Observers note that this episode has far-reaching implications for the monarchy's future engagement strategies, as it underscores a need to reconcile modern transparency with historical protocol. The rejection by Australia forces the royal family to confront an essential truth. Influence is no longer dictated solely by birthright, but also by the capacity to respond effectively to civic activism, public sentiment, and international perception. Analysts speculate on the long-term effects, predicting changes in travel protocols, engagement planning, and public interaction policies for members of the royal family. Meanwhile, the media narrative intensifies, dissecting every nuance, from the petition's signatories to the potential diplomatic ramifications. Editorials, news segments, and commentary panels weigh in on what this rejection signals for the Commonwealth and for Harry and Meghan's role as global figures. The petition becomes a prism through which the public examines broader issues of fairness, representation, and accountability, forcing the royal household to operate under unprecedented scrutiny. Public demonstrations and online campaigns amplify the situation, creating a feedback loop in which perception increasingly dictates policy. The monarchy, traditionally insulated by ceremony and protocol, now finds itself navigating a landscape where digital mobilization, international attention, and historical expectation intersect, generating a pressure cooker environment for decision-making. Within this high-stakes context, palace advisors coordinate with diplomatic officials in Canberra and London, preparing contingency plans that include alternative itineraries, media briefings, and potential legal considerations should the situation escalate further. The royal family's internal communications reveal an acute awareness of the historical significance. No previous generation of royals has faced such immediate and widespread civic challenge to a planned visit. The petition not only calls into question Harry and Meghan's presence, but also probes the broader relevance and authority of monarchy in contemporary society. This moment exposes a tension between symbolic representation and actual influence, as the monarchy must now demonstrate its ability to adapt to the expectations of modern citizens while preserving institutional dignity. As this crisis unfolds, it becomes evident that the rejection by Australia is more than a local political issue. It is emblematic of the global challenges facing royals who straddle personal freedom and public duty. Harry and Meghan's response, strategic or otherwise, will be scrutinized for its implications on loyalty, credibility, and the public perception of monarchy worldwide. The episode illustrates how digital activism, public mobilization, and media amplification can converge to create a defining moment in royal history, forcing even the most celebrated figures to reconcile ambition with accountability. In this unprecedented scenario, every choice carries weight, every statement is analyzed, and every movement is strategically considered, reflecting the intricate, high-stakes nature of modern royal life. The repercussions of Australia's public rejection ripple far beyond the continent, extending into the very heart of the Commonwealth and challenging long-held assumptions about royal privilege and global influence. For Harry and Meghan, the explosive petition is more than a public rebuke. It is a stark reminder that celebrity status cannot supersede civic voice, and that every action undertaken by royals is subject to both local sentiment and international scrutiny. In London, Buckingham Palace convenes urgent strategy sessions, with senior advisors, legal experts, and communications teams working around the clock to map out responses, mitigate backlash, and anticipate the cascading effects of such a high-profile civic movement. The petition has become a tangible measure of public opinion, providing citizens an unprecedented mechanism to assert control over royal engagements. Analysts note that this digital mobilization demonstrates a significant shift in power dynamics, where grassroots activism intersects with centuries-old institutions, challenging the royal family to navigate a landscape shaped not by ceremony alone, but by accountability, transparency, and the voice of the people. Diplomatic channels are now acutely engaged, as a rejection carries implications for bilateral relations between Australia and the United Kingdom. Officials in Canberra and London monitor press coverage, assess potential fallout, and coordinate messaging that acknowledges public sentiment while preserving diplomatic protocol. The monarchy, historically insulated by protocol and hierarchy, is suddenly confronted with a reality where public consent and international perception dictate the parameters of engagement. Every decision, whether to delay, relocate, or cancel a visit, requires careful consideration of legal implications, media optics, and long-term reputational impact. The magnitude of this challenge underscores a fundamental evolution in modern monarchy. Power is no longer conferred solely by birthright. It must now be exercised in harmony with democratic expectation and societal consent. Meanwhile, media scrutiny intensifies, with every statement from Harry, Meghan, and palace spokespeople dissected for nuance, intention, and potential political subtext. Social media channels erupt with commentary, hashtags, and trending discussions that amplify the petition's significance, creating a feedback loop where public discourse increasingly influences decision-making at the highest levels. Editorials frame the episode as a watershed moment, exploring themes of privilege, accountability, and the role of the monarchy in contemporary governance. This multi-layered narrative places Harry and Meghan at the intersection of personal ambition and institutional responsibility, forcing them to navigate a complex web of expectation, criticism, and symbolic representation. The broader implications for the monarchy are profound. The rejection challenges assumptions about automatic access to former colonial territories, questions the relevance of ceremonial roles in a modern democratic context, and highlights the operational vulnerabilities that exist when royal activities collide with public opinion. Palace strategists recognize that this incident will serve as a case study for future royal engagements, shaping protocols around public consultation, risk assessment, and strategic communication. For the younger generation of royals, it demonstrates that visibility and influence come with heightened responsibility, requiring a delicate balance between personal initiative and institutional obligation. As the story unfolds, the narrative becomes one of resilience, adaptation, and the redefinition of monarchy in an era dominated by digital activism and global connectivity. Harry and Meghan are compelled to reassess their public approach, weighing the consequences of high-profile visibility against the need for institutional legitimacy and public trust. Every meeting, every press release, every engagement is now filtered through a lens of scrutiny, with a potential for both immediate impact and long-term legacy. Observers note that this episode could permanently alter how royal figures plan, communicate, and execute international visits, establishing new precedents in accountability, public interaction, and strategic discretion. Ultimately, the Australian petition is more than a rejection. It is a seismic event that exposes the vulnerabilities, expectations, and evolving responsibilities of modern monarchy. It illuminates the tension between personal freedom and institutional duty, between celebrity and sovereign obligation, and between global fascination and local consent. Harry and Meghan's response will reverberate across the Commonwealth, influencing public perception, diplomatic relations, and the very structure of royal engagement for years to come. In a world where every action is amplified and every voice matters, this explosive petition crystallizes a new era in which monarchy must reconcile tradition with transparency, privilege with accountability, and historical prestige with the expectations of connected, vocal, and empowered global citizenry.